Dayton, Ohio. I've cut the size of the workforce, I've cut the turnaround time of business, I've cut taxes, and I've recruited this many businesses. Okay, 15 years later, I go back. We have a big ceremony about what we're doing. We don't have a strong morale like Southeast Asia. And their per capita income in 15 years went from $300 a year to over $1,500 a year. It's now about $1,800 a year. A breathtaking increase in a short amount of time because they were focused on getting themselves organized and getting people to think about the future, not the past. There's no better example of that than Rwanda. In 1998, when I went to Rwanda 4 years after the genocide, the per capita income was still only $268 a year. 10% of the people were killed in 90 days, mostly with machetes. And when I went back after I left office, a reporter was covering my trip, and that reporter did exactly what he should have done. He went around and said, well, Bill Clinton didn't come and help you stop the genocide. Don't you resent him coming here now? And he couldn't find anybody to say yes. Not because of me, because of them, starting with their president. He interviewed a cab driver who said, no, we need his help. And the reporter says, why don't you resent him? He said, he did not make us kill each other. We did that all by ourselves. And at least he came and apologized, and no one else has. So we are focused on the future. That's leadership and responsibility. And the president of Rwanda started off when they were dirt poor saying, people think poor people are dirty and sloppy, and it's not true. So once a month, every adult will take one Saturday and clean the streets because we don't have enough infrastructure to do it. So when you go to Kigali today, that's still going on. You land in a good airport, you drive down a clean street that works, you feel that you're in a proud place that's focused on the future. From 1998 until 2010, their income went from $268 a year to $1,100 a year. It's now about $1,300 a year. And last year, the president moved almost 1 million people out of poverty by global standards simply by giving every family a cow. Now it sounds like a little thing. But now it's not just in the capital city. If you go into the rural areas where people are used to being left out and left behind, and you see these barns where they keep their dairy cows and they milk them every day, you see all these new houses that are being built. I was just there. They know they're never going to be as rich as we are. But they think tomorrow will be better than yesterday. And they think their children will have a better chance. They have something to look forward to because they are focused on the future. Somehow we have to get that done. One of our CGI commitments 2 years ago might be of some interest to you. The Tony Blair Faith Foundation that the former British Prime Minister works on, and you know he's active in the Middle East anyway, committed to training about 800 teachers in 15 countries, involving about 400 schools, and working with the government to teach students across the world and across different faiths about each other's lives and religions. They met their goal, they've expanded the number of schools, and now they've got all these relationships between young people all over the world. It is much more difficult to hate someone if you understand how they see the world, even if you don't agree with it. And if you find something else to appreciate about them, we have to do more of that. I'll give you another example. In the Middle East, I have visited 2 different schools, private schools with tuition, excellent schools, built by the GEMS unit, the Varka GEMS schools, and they're extremely good. But they're too expensive for ordinary people to afford. So they set up a foundation and raised a bunch of money to pay scholarships for people to come. Now, do all the poor kids get to go? No. But just having some of them go and having some opportunities that weren't there before, that are extended otherwise only to people who already have the money to pay for it, changes the consciousness of the country. I'll give you one last example and then we can go to the questions. One of my Global Initiative partners, that is one of my favorite projects, is the HALT network of business schools. It's an international network of for-profit business schools all over the world. And a few years ago they said, we will give cash prizes every year to people who submit the best business plans to solve problems you guys are working on. And last year they did 3. It's the first time I've ever done 3. 1, housing for poor people. They said the Habitat for Humanity model works great because poor people help to build their own houses and the only real cost is in the labor materials. You got all these Habitat volunteers helping who know what they're doing. But it's so labor intensive that you got to make sure the materials are there. It's very hard to scale up. So how would you do $1 million a year? First problem. Second problem was there may be nearly 100 million children who never go to school at all, but there are more than that that go to school in name only because they don't have trained teachers and good learning materials. The 1 laptop per child model offers the promise of curing that. You get on the internet, assuming you can power it up, and every kid's got a laptop, you don't have to worry about the learning materials. And a lot of kids will teach themselves and the teachers can learn along with them. But how would you get 20 million of them out in a year? This is too slow. The third one is the most important and most relevant. The third problem was we got all these solar villages in India and several in Africa that my partners have put up. We just built the biggest solar building in the Caribbean and a new hospital, teaching hospital in Haiti, the poorest country in the Caribbean, with the highest electric rates, 36 cents a kilowatt hour, has 1,800 solar panels. But the whole guy said, that's all very well. But the problem is, how would you fix 20 million buildings in a year? Now this contest is not open just to their students. Any economics department in the world and any business school in the world can file a business plan. The winner of the solar contest this year was the New York University campus in Abu Dhabi. And the team, who's in the list? The team was 4 students, 1 from India and 1 from Pakistan, 1 from China and 1 from Taiwan. So when they came up on the stage and we're supposed to pose for a picture, I said, are you sure you guys want this in the local paper? And they said in various ways, we are so over it. Look, the differences between India and Pakistan over Kashmir are real. And they go back more than 60 years to the unresolved way Kashmir was left when the British withdrew. And it ought to be resolved with some variation of what they did in Ireland. But that's not for the rest of us to say. But the rest of us can help the young people of India and Pakistan look at tomorrow instead of yesterday. The tensions between China and Taiwan are not nearly as severe as they were when I was president, partly because more than 10 million mainland Chinese work for companies owned by Taiwanese. And they know if they just let well enough alone, this thing will work itself out some way or another. But the Chinese, as we all know, are still highly sensitive to any suggestion from outsiders about what they continue to believe is their territorial sovereignty over Taiwan. It doesn't cross those young people's minds. they're living 10 years from now. They have something to look forward to. They know that cooperation works better than conflict, that an open hand is fought better than a closed fist. But getting there is going to be tough in this environment. One of my favorite lines from the great Irish poet William Butler Yeats is that too long a sacrifice can make a stone of the heart. It's not like we've got all the time in the world here. But I don't think any of you should minimize the impact that one new business investment, that one cooperative partnership, that one effort to empower entrepreneurs, that one effort to have real collaboration between small and medium enterprises across national lines can have. The great 87-year-old Nobel Prize-winning biologist E.O. Wilson has just written what will probably be his last book. It's called The Social Conquest of Earth. About half the book is a fascinating history of our own species and all the series of prehistoric accidents that happened to allow Homo sapiens to first emerge and then survive. But the most important thing to me is he said, if you look at the history of Earth, it is the conquest went to the cooperators, to the ants, the termites, the bees, and the human beings. It might surprise you to know that the combined weight of all the ants on Earth exceeds the combined weight of all the people on Earth. They have very sophisticated, highly cooperative societies. He said, humans are the only ones, as far as we know, with self-consciousness, self-awareness, a conscience, and the ability to be wildly creative so that the possibilities for us are enormous. But it also makes us arrogant and gives us the illusion that we can be in possession of the whole truth. And so the humans are the only one of these four cooperators with a tendency to self-destruction. We forget, as I said the other night in Charlotte, that nobody's right all the time, and broken clock's right twice a day. And the rest of us are compelled to spend our lives between the extremes, hoping to goodness we'll be twice a day. So I say that because Wilson, in his valedictory book, one of the most distinguished scientists of the last 150 years, said that is what the human beings have to remember. Our glory is we don't cooperate like ants and termites and bees. We can actually create whole different futures instead of just adapt to survive and grow our numbers. Our risk is that we're prone to self-destruction. And we concentrate almost all of our energies on our differences. According to the Human Genome Project, all people on Earth, including all of you, who are not 100% descended from sub-Saharan Africans, have between 1 and 4% of our genome inherited from the Neanderthals, our pre-human ancestors that occupied non-Africa for 40,000 years with us. And it turns out we liked each other better than we knew. According to the Human Genome Project, all people on planet Earth are roughly 99.5% the same. That is, if you look around this room, every non-age-related difference evident to us in this room, including gender, skin color, eye color, body size and shape, everything is rooted in only 0.5% of our biological differences. But we spend 99.5% of our lives obsessing about that 0.5%. And about 0.5% of our lives thinking about the 99.5% of us that is just like everybody else. I think the great trick in making the most of this modern world is to focus just a little more of our consciousness on the 99.5% we share with everybody else, and to get everybody to think